record this so that we can share it later. So I've just started the recording. So again, welcome to the Epic Ed focused on recovery. This is September, it's recovery month. And so in celebration of that, we thought we would do an Epic Ed on the topic of recovery. I am really excited about the speakers who we have with us here today. And I am going to just keep it short to keep my background noise minimal in this recording and just go ahead and introduce our first speaker, who is Leslie Fox, the program manager of the We Do Recover Community Center. She's a person living in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. Prior to working for Gibson Center for Behavioral Change, she worked for Cross Trails Medical Center as a lab tech. Leslie is a graduate of Cape Central High School and has two boys ages 5 and 9 and is doing what she can to make the community they are growing up in a better one. We are super excited to have the We Do Recover Community Center in our community, and we're super excited to have Leslie here to share with us today. So Leslie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. I just want to thank you for even inviting me to do this. Like you said, September is Recovery Month. And any opportunity that I can get to shine a light on recovery in our local community, I am happy to do so. So thank you guys for all showing up today. So once again, I'm Leslie Fox. I am the program manager of the We Do Recover Community Center. My parent company is Gibson Center for Behavioral Change. And I can't say enough about that. John Gary's on the call this morning. And I just work for a wonderful company. So let's talk first about what is an RCC, a Recovery Community Center. And I'm going to give you the boring textbook definition, but I think it really sums us up very well. So an RCC is an independent nonprofit organization. We provide peer support, supportive community that builds hope and supports healthy behaviors for individuals with substance use disorders and their families, no matter what phase of use or recovery they may be in. We help build recovery capital to help individuals initiate and sustain recovery over time by providing compassion, supportive relationships, advocacy training, recovery information, peer support, social activities, and connection to treatment and other community-based services. So there is 9 other RCCs in the state of Missouri. In 2021, 4 other RCCs were added to the state. We are funded through the Division of Behavioral Health, the Substance Use Block Grant. So other locations in the state that have RCCs include Kansas City, Springfield, Columbia. St. Louis, I think, has 3 or 4 RCCs. So each RCC is different. It depends on the community that you're in. They're completely autonomous. So some support homeless, some offer job training and have employment specialists on staff. Some focus heavily on harm reduction and giving out naloxone and doing community education to just reduce the stigma surrounding substance use disorder. Some serve as a place as just a hub for activities, 12-step meetings, and just a place to hang out and find friendship. It's just a place to be safe, really. The great thing about it is that every local community gets to figure out what it is that their RCC needs to be. So let's talk about what we're doing here locally at the We Do Recover Community Center. You know, we first opened in November of 2021. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really sure what the need of our community was. I knew what our mission was, and that's to engage, empower, and encourage those seeking recovery from addiction, and to provide a platform to experience recovery through advocacy, pro-social activities, and community-based events. But what does that really look like in real life? You know, that's all sounding really pretty, you know, but what does that look like? You know, how do we provide a space, and what does that space look like? Not only for people that are seeking recovery, but people that are possibly still in the throes of substance use disorder. I'm so sorry. Hold on one second, guys. I apologize, guys. I don't have any backup here today. So we just wanted to have a space where people could come in and maybe just like dip their toes in recovery and just know that recovery exists. You know, I'm a person living in long-term recovery. I was 33 when I sought treatment. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't know that recovery existed. And I know that sounds so ignorant, but I had never met anybody that was in recovery. I didn't know that people used to use and now they don't. I didn't know, and if they did exist, I didn't know where they hung out. And I didn't know what they were doing with their lives. I mean, I maybe would have seen those people in church, but otherwise I didn't know where to find those people at. And you know, whenever I left treatment, I was told that everything about my life basically needed to change. I needed to change my people, my places, and my things. And I'm a native of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And so this is where I was at when I was in the throes of my addiction. And when I came back from treatment, this was where I was coming back to. So it would have been really nice to have a place, a brick and mortar place for me to come to find people that were like-minded, that were trying to find their path as well. Luckily, and by God's grace, I found fellowship through a local 12-step community. And that was my choice of recovery. And that's continued to be my recovery path, but that's not everybody's recovery path. And so really, we just needed to have a place for people to come and find whatever path they were going to be on. Because we support any pathway that you are on, whether that be, you know, medication assisted recovery, or maybe that's just faith-based recovery. Maybe, you know, you're not really sure what path you want to be on, and you want to explore whatever's out there. We want to provide a platform for you to figure out what that is. And so first we needed activities that were fun and inviting. And so I just started programming all kinds of stuff. I just kind of like threw things on the program to see what would stick. And so our first couple months, you know, we had a wide range of programs. We began yoga and meditation, which actually we've continued to do until this day. We provide yoga and meditation on Tuesdays. We did coffee and donuts. We just sat around in a group and discussed our day, our struggles and maybe our victories, and sat around on our couches and discussed that. We listened to recovery speakers on YouTube. I did walking Wednesdays where we would just walk around the RCC, watching a YouTube video, doing a little workout. We did jam sessions where people would come in and bring instruments and just come in and just explore, maybe if they were good at singing. And then we started doing open mic nights. And this has been happening ever since I started that. Those went over really, really well. People love an open mic night. You give them a microphone and tell them to do whatever, and it turns into a karaoke night. And it's just amazing. You know, it's very uncomfortable in the beginning of recovery to learn how to live life without the use of a substance. And honestly, to learn how to have fun in recovery. You know, that's all stuff that we have to relearn how to do, because we're learning how to do it without the use of substances, and it's uncomfortable. And so it's fun to be able to bring these people into this building and kind of throw them into situations that get them outside of themselves, and to show them that, hey, you can do all of these things that you used to do, that you were under the influences of alcohol and drugs. You can do them sober today, and you can have fun doing it. And by the way, you can remember how much fun you had doing it because you're sober today. And so we do pizza and movies on Fridays. We did a craft. We do some crafts sometimes. We did a group mosaic project that we hung on our wall. We do multiple 12-step meetings here. I started offering an all recovery meeting, which is new to our area. No one else in our area is doing this. It's basically an all-inclusive recovery meeting. If you're recovering from food addiction, or if you're a family member of someone that is struggling with substance use disorder, or maybe it's mental health that you struggle with, we want to come alongside you and love on you. And so this all recovery meeting happens almost every day of the week at 3 p.m. And it's just basically an open forum group. We throw out a topic and just have a great group discussion about that. So we're seeing people recover through our RCC. It is a beautiful thing to watch. Through the winter, I saw a couple that was living in Walmart parking lot in their car. They had lost their infant son to DFS, and they wanted to find recovery. And they found it through our center. They started coming here on a daily basis. I helped them find employment. They're both now working full time and have, I don't know, probably 9 months now of recovery under their belt. And they're about to get their infant son back. They're now living in a place in Scott City. They have their own place. And it's just a perfect example of what can happen through our doors here. I watch people walk in here with their heads held low, drowning in guilt and shame. And within a couple weeks, honestly, a couple weeks time, I see people with their heads held high, starting to serve through our RCC by just like cleaning up and taking out the trash, or maybe helping me set up for events. And they start to be part of the recovery community, and they start to find their path. And it's just awesome to watch. It is a well-known fact that addiction equals isolation, but recovery equals community. And so that's what our main goal is here today, to surround people with love and understanding, to get them connected to services if they want them, and to walk with them in whatever road they take. So let me tell you a little bit about the bigger events that we've held through the year. Each month, I really try to throw, well, let's say every couple months, a bigger event to kind of bring in our local recovery community. And so I started off in last December with a Tree of Hope celebration. This will happen every single year. I bought a giant Christmas tree from Sam's, and we lit it up, and we had people come and write the names of loved ones lost on an ornament. I had a podium. They would come up to the podium and they would speak about their loved one that they lost, and they would hang the ornament on the tree. We had a beautiful dessert bar. We had nice music in the background. And it was just a good event to bring everybody together to commemorate those that we've lost, but also to celebrate those that are recovering and that are getting through the Christmas season. I threw a Super Bowl party. We did a big giant Easter event at celebration at the park. We did an 80s themed prom that we held at Bold Marketing on Independence, and it was awesome. We danced the night away. We had a DJ. It was a catered event. It was just so much fun. We do, game nights, ice cream socials. We had a car wash fundraiser where we worked for like 4 hours and raised over $400 for our prom, which was great. We did kayaking up at Crystal City Underground, which is underground salt mines that are now flooded. And we took a bunch of us up there, and we did kayaking up there. We've done a float trip over the summer. 16 of us went and floated the Black River. Most of those people, I'd say 95% of those people had never been on a float trip sober. I have never experienced that. So it was a blast to just show people how much fun those things can be in sobriety. This week, or in the next couple of weeks, we're going to go up to Elephant Rock and do hiking. We went to Pink Rock and spent the day hanging out at Pink Rock and exploring. We do kickball and volleyball. We just have a good time, So throughout the day, you can walk into the RCC instead of sitting around on our comfy couches. We do group discussions on relationships, emotional sobriety. We may be having Faith Finders, which is our beginner's Bible study, or we may be going through an anger management course. We have volunteers that bring in homemade food to us all the time. And so we get to feed people that come in and that are just hungry. And if they just come in for a meal, that's okay. We want to feed them and just love on them where they're at. We enjoy 12-step meetings, as I said, and we do aerobic workouts as well. Shelley mentioned that this is Recovery Month, September's Recovery Month, and multiple agencies have come together for a Recovery Fest, which is going to be happening this Saturday. I just want to invite everyone to come and join us for that. It is a family event. It is for anyone and everyone. FCC, Community Counseling Center, of course, Gibson Center for Behavioral Change, and New Seasons came together and is throwing this event. We'll have food trucks, we'll have t-shirts for sale, we'll have face painting, bounce houses. We'll have multiple agencies that'll be there with their booths set up, so you can come and talk to us about what we have going on. We have multiple giveaways, and I think it's just going to be a good time. So please come out and see what recovery looks like. You know, there's so many people. There is absolutely 20 million people in the United States claiming to be in recovery, and we want to celebrate those people. And locally, I wish we had a count. I know that it's huge, and it is growing by the month. We just at the RCC, of course, I have people sign in when they walk in the door. We had 857 signatures last month alone. 77 of those signatures were brand new. They had never walked in the doors of the RCC before. 77 new people came into our building to find a new way of life. This year, I have well over 800 signatures, and the month is not over. That is saying something. There is something happening. There is a shift in our community. Recovery is cool now. It is cool to now know that there is a community that will surround you and walk with you. You know, due to our growth, I've had to hire an assistant. We're open longer now. I used to be open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Now I'm open. The only day that I'm closed is Sundays. We're open now till 8 p.m. and 7 p.m. certain days of the week. And we are just seeing an influx of people come through our doors because of that. We have a wonderful advisory board that helps us with our programming, and they lean into our RCC. It is a mixture of people that are living in recovery. They're also just family members that have people that are living in recovery. And so our advisory board is just wonderful. They're supportive to us, and I'm just grateful for them. So all in all, if you take away anything from today, I just want you to know that the RCC is a place of hope. We are a place of understanding. We are a place of compassion, and we are here for services for the recovering person that is maybe in your life. And so send people our way, and just let people know about us. We do have a Facebook page. It's the We Do Recover Community Center on Facebook. And of course, if you go to Gibson Center for Behavioral Change website, there is a link to us as well. I'm going to put my email in the chat so you guys can get a hold of me if you'd like. And if you'd like to, just stop by. We're at 715 Broadway here in Cape. We're catty corner to Dollar General under the red awning. So I hope to see you guys sometime. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was wonderful to hear about all the great stuff you all are doing. Those numbers are incredible. Over 800 people in a month, I think you said, and 77 new ones. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for everything that you all are doing there. And we'll open it up for questions if anybody has questions for you before we move on to hear from Heather in a minute. So if anybody does have questions, feel free to either drop those in the chat if you want somebody else to read them, or you can just unmic yourself to ask too. I was going to ask, and I think you probably addressed it there at the end when you said you're going to put your email in the chat, and there it is, what the best way is for us to help you spread the word, to maybe tell people about all of the great stuff that you have going on there. It seems like maybe it would be to direct them to that Facebook page and or to emailing you. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and I send out a calendar of events every month. And so if anybody would like to get on that email list, send me your email, and I'd love to put you on my email list. You can print out those calendars and set them wherever you're at. I hope to be coming around to different agencies as well, and just kind of doing some PR for the RCC as we grow. So
awesome. And I know that Epic can definitely share that calendar of events on our Facebook page as well, and try to push that out for you too, so that more people become aware of that. Did other folks have questions for Leslie? Anybody?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you were talking about those trips, like to, I think you said Elephant Rocks, but do you guys provide transportation, or how does that look?
Yes, ma'am. I rent this giant 15 passenger van. I can't believe they let me, they let anybody rent those. Did you know that? No, it's hilarious. But yeah, I rent a big giant van and we just go. Sometimes I provide snacks. But yeah, so we'll provide transportation to that. Yes, ma'am.
What about other types of transportation? Like, is that a service or anything that you guys can help people with?
Not right now, ma'am, no. But if anyone is in need, have them contact us and we'll figure something out. You know, I'm happy to figure things out for people wherever they're at.
Great questions, Mercedes. Thank you. And thanks, Leslie. Anybody else have questions for Leslie? So what time, I think you said this, but maybe again, what time is the Recovery Fest this weekend and what all is going to be going on there?
Right,
Again, real quick.
so it's going to be at Capel Park, shelter number 1. And it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to have we'll have 2 speakers, we'll have bounce houses, face painting, giveaways. There's just going to be music and fellowship. 573 Treats is going to be there. And I think there's another food truck from Sykeston that's going to be there. I think it's called BuzzFeed, maybe. I might be wrong on that. But anyways, they're going to be there. So yeah, just come out, hang out. We'd love to see you.
Great. Thank you for that additional information about the Recovery Fest this weekend and for everything that you've shared. We appreciate your time and taking the time to tell us about the wonderful work that you're doing. And if people think of questions for you, you'll still be on the Zoom, so they can ask those when Heather finishes here in a minute too. Because I was in a rush to mute myself earlier, I did not tell everybody. We do have a survey that we ask folks to complete at the end of the Epic Ed. So I just wanted to mention that really quickly. I'll be dropping a link to that survey in the chat sometime, probably part way through Heather's talk. And so we would ask you all to please fill that out before you leave today. And now we are going to introduce Ms. Heather Williams, who has graciously agreed to speak for us today, be one of our speakers today, and who has spoken at an Epic Ed in the past. So we're excited to have her back with us today. Heather is, let's see, I don't know what all of these letters mean. Some of them I do, but not all. But Heather is an LPC, NCC, CCJP, and MARS. And she currently works as the integrated treatment for co-occurring program manager at Community Counseling Center in Cape Girardeau and oversees the ITCD program in 5 counties. That's a whole lot of acronyms there. Heather graduated with a master's in mental health counseling from Southeast Missouri State University, and she holds several certifications from the Missouri Credentialing Board. She also works with the 32nd Judicial Co-occurring Treatment Court. And so Heather is going to be sharing with us about on this general topic of recovery as well today. So Heather, I'm going to turn things over to you now.
None of those letters really mean anything. I just got a bunch of them and threw them all together and figured they sounded cool like that. So that's what it is. It's like the alphabet soup behind our name. So that's it. So basically, I'll explain what some of those things mean. First of all, thank you for having me back. It's always nice. You said that I've spoken at an Epic Ed event before, so it's always nice to be invited back because that means you didn't screw it up too bad, right? So thank you guys for having me back. The long and short of what I do is I have the coolest job in the world. Basically, that's the long and short of it. I get to work with folks that have a mental health diagnosis and a substance use diagnosis. So that is what ITCD means. It means that I am the program manager for the ITCD program, which is integrated treatment for co-occurring disorders. So the integrated part means that the folks that we work with have a mental health diagnosis and a substance use diagnosis, And we help them by having a counselor, a caseworker, a peer support specialist, a psychiatrist, and all of those folks work together to help this individual work towards getting on their view and their path to recovery. So I've been with Community Counseling Center for 10 years, and I've been in the ITCD program for 9. Our main principle is that we meet the consumer where they're at. We meet that person where they're at. Not everyone's view of recovery is the same. Leslie spoke about, her path to recovery and how she got to recovery. And she also kind of touched on how that's not everyone else's path. And so the really cool thing about ITCD is that we talk to folks and get a view of what they want their recovery to look like. Some people want full abstinence. Some people want harm reduction. Some people want to learn how to manage their mental health symptoms without the substance use through different events and different things, kind of like what Leslie was talking about. So we get to really see a person as who they are. I don't know if y'all are aware of this or not, but there is a lot of stigma and discrimination against folks who use substances. So when you combine that with the discrimination and stigma against folks with mental illness, it's a lot, right? So a lot of our folks don't believe recovery is possible. Leslie mentioned that, and it was like listening to so many individuals that I've worked with over the last 9 years, because they've kind of given up on themselves, because a lot of individuals have given up on them because of the nature of the diseases actually. So it was really, really beautiful to be able to sit down with somebody and allow them to be heard and allow them to be, present and be able to figure out what they want their recovery to be. And I always explain to people, like, my job is not to push, pull, drag you to recovery and what my view of recovery looks like. My job is to walk along this path with you while you figure out what you want your recovery to look like. I'm really excited because Community Counseling Center now, so we've had ITCD for 9 years, for a long time. We also now have a substance use division, which we fall underneath. And we're now able to provide outpatient services for people with just a substance use disorder, which typically we were not able to do. We just started being able to do that the last few months. Our substance use division director is going to be at Recovery Fest on Saturday, having more information about some of the things that we offer at Community Counseling Center for folks with substance use disorders and co-occurring disorders. So you'll be able to meet him. We also offer medication-assisted recovery here, which is great because that's another path to recovery. There also, I think we've gotten a lot better in general of recognizing MAR as a path to recovery. I think some of the stigma and some of the misunderstanding and miseducation around that over the last few years has kind of dwindled down. I think people are now recognizing the importance of MAR for some folks as a path to recovery and as a substantial way to better their lives. So I'm excited that, I'm excited to see some of that discrimination and some of that miseducation kind of fall by the wayside. We also have we have a drop-in center that actually is right next to my office. It's on Kings Highway. It's the Pure Impact Center. So that one's really cool because they have, much like you guys do, Leslie, they have a calendar of events. There's a lot of like arts and crafts and groups that they do there. What's really cool about that is it is also a drop-in center, so you don't have to be a consumer of CCC in order to go there. It's peer led, so it has peer support specialists that are there, and they have schedules of events and things that they do every month. So that's a really cool place for individuals who are new to recovery or struggling in early recovery or trying to find a place to fit, between. So I'm really excited now that we have a couple places, because Leslie was right. We didn't have anything really. You know, it's like this, when people are in early recovery, it's like we're selling unicorns, right? Like they know that there are other unicorns that exist, and it's like this mythical labyrinth of a place, but we don't have a clear direction of where they are, right? So I love that we're starting to get more of those things, so we can help folks see that you can have fun, you know, without the use of substances. There are other individuals like you know, like us. Like there are other individuals that, you know, were where you are and now are working towards, you know, having a completely different life. And that's such a powerful thing when we can see that in others, right? So as part of ITCD, we offer family sessions. I know that that was discussed a little bit, but it doesn't have to be just family. It can be natural supports, because sometimes a lot of our folks family relationships, sometimes because of the nature of the disease and nature of some of the actions of the disease. And so it takes a little bit to kind of build that back up. So that's one of the beautiful things that we get to do at ITCD is we encourage those family sessions. We encourage, you know, our consumers to bring one of their natural supports in and have a conversation and provide some education about what this looks like, what recovery, how come it doesn't just do like this, right? Like how come we can't just make the decision like, oh, I'm in recovery now, and then magically everything just changes all of a sudden. Like I think sometimes people think that, and it takes a little bit of time. So I think that that's one of the really cool things that we get to do is encourage that communication and that education among in the family sessions and our natural supports. There's actually a video, I was telling Shelly and Leslie about this, that I received yesterday from Lori Norval at the Department of Mental Health. It's this really cool video. It's little bitty. It's like 6 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. But it does such a beautiful job of explaining substance use to individuals. And it's really great to share with friends, family members of individuals who are struggling with substance use, because it does it in such a way that it's concise, it's clear, it explains the disease part of it. It explains, how it takes away, like initially it's for pleasure, and then how it changes our brain to where there's no longer pleasure, but it's a need, like our body, our brain needs it, even though there's no pleasure for it anymore. And it does a really great job of explaining that. And I will send that link to Shelly to kind of send to everybody, because I think it's not only good for individuals who know somebody in recovery or love somebody in recovery, but I also think it's really good as a good reminder in general, just for the general public. Because I think sometimes people have a misunderstanding of what recovery looks like or why recovery can be so difficult. And so I think it's a really good thing to kind of share with others, because it does show, well, here's the reason why. And it provides a little bit of education on how to best help support somebody in recovery. And if we're in recovery ourselves, it kind of is a reminder of us, like, okay, well, this is why it's difficult sometimes, right? Like this is why it seems harder than other days, right? So I'll be sure to send that out. Something that Shelly asked me to look at was any substance trends that we were seeing, anything that we're seeing in the area, anything kind of new. And there are two different substances that I think that we as a community need to be aware of, that we're starting to see and starting to hear a little bit about. And I have, and this is from the Missouri Institute of Mental Health, and I have like handouts of them, PDF handouts that I will send to Shelly, so that we can kind of educate ourselves on these substances that are coming out, so we can better help our folks in our community. So the first one is xylazine. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah. So I see a couple head nods. So xylazine basically is a veterinary tranquilizer that is being cut with fentanyl and heroin. It's sometimes called trank dope. So that's particularly scary because Narcan doesn't work on it because it's not an opiate. So it's a sedative, and it can look like opiate use, but then Narcan doesn't work on it. So it says that it has spread westward from the Northeast US and has been involved in some overdose deaths in Missouri in 2001 and 2002. So I will send this information because it has like a whole sheet on it. It has tips on how to safer, use trank dope and xylazine. So it also has what to do in an overdose. I'm going to send that out so we kind of have more information about that. The other thing that we're seeing is something called benzodope. It is a combination of fentanyl and underground benzos. It has been reported in 2021 and 22 in the drug supply in St. Louis, Kansas City, and Central Illinois. So kind of all around us. So what we know from that is if it's around us and we're seeing it in those different areas, it's either here and we don't know about it yet, or it's slowly coming here. It will be here, right? So this is something that we need to kind of watch out for. It can also be called purple dope. So we need to kind of be aware of how to help our folks in recovery, kind of be aware of that being out there. It also has tips for safer use of benzodope. So some harm reduction tips for that. And so I will send both of those out to Shelly so that we kind of have more education about that and we can better help some of our folks. I really don't know what else I could go on for literally, an hour talking about recovery and talking about those things. I just want to go back to, I definitely do have the coolest job in the world. And I think whenever people ask me, well, Heather, how do you help people? Like, how do you help somebody in recovery? Or whenever I get, asked by, friends or family, like, hey, I've got this person I'm really concerned about. How do I help them? What do I do? I've often found that the first suggestion is not any of the clinical needs or any of those things or therapeutic strategies or any of that stuff. The first thing that I typically go to is make sure that they know that you love them, that you see them as a person, that you're providing hope to them, that that you believe in them. I cannot stress to you how important having someone know that you believe in them and you believe that they can get better and that you believe that they can work on overcoming this disease. I cannot stress to you enough how powerful that is. Now, granted, we want that belief and then also like provide them with resources and help them get to treatment or help them, work on different resources and things like that. And that goes a long way. Because as Leslie talked about before, like we know recovery is possible, but a lot of folks don't really know recovery is possible, and so having our friends and our family and our community members say, hey, this is a disease. We understand this is a disease. We understand that a co-occurring disorder is two diseases. We understand that. We believe in you. Here are resources available. Hey, let me go with you to the Recovery Fest. Let me go there to support you. Let me provide Narcan for you. Let me provide some education for you. Let me get you to see a counselor. Let me get you to do these things. Those things are important 100%. And I think that the most important thing that we can do is have our community members, our friends, our family members, our consumers, our clients know that we believe in them. Because for a lot of these people, they've been told their whole life that they're not worthy of being believed in. And it is so important to do that. So I think that things like the Recovery Fest and having it out in the open, right? Like this is not something that, used to, it's like, oh, well, I go see a counselor because of this thing. That's made a significant change, man. Like people are proud to be in recovery. It takes a whole lot of strength to be in recovery. It takes a whole lot of strength to daily battle a mental health diagnosis or a substance use diagnosis. And that takes a whole lot of strength. And I'm so excited to see people now proud of that. You know, that yes, this is what I'm doing. And here are other people like me. And here are other ways I can have fun. Here are other ways that, you know, I'm doing this. Hey, if you need a good counselor, I know one. Hey, can you do this? People are sharing that information. And I really do believe that that's how we change the world. We are more open about our mental health disorders and recovery. We discuss them more. We provide more evidence-based education on substance use disorders, mental health disorders, things that really work, things that don't work. We are more open and understanding about medication-assisted recovery and seeing how that can help folks. And I really do think that, like Leslie talked about different paths to recovery, but I really do think that all of those little parts, right, like all those different parts kind of coming together is how we change the world and how we continue to help folks in recovery.
Thank you so much, Heather. Wonderful. It was lots of great information. And I love what you said. Something that just really stuck out to me or impacted me was when you said, you know, go with them. If you're suggesting, you know, somebody to Recovery Fest or go to a meeting or something like that, go with them. You know, I think a lot of times it seems like, in my experience, a lot of times we're like, okay, you need to do this, this, this. Why don't you go to a meeting? Why don't you go connect with these recovery kind of people or whatever? But to actually say, hey, why don't we go do this together is seems like it could be a really powerful thing. And then thinking back to what Leslie was talking about and how I think that historically a lot of recovery, this is not, I don't think what you were talking about, but it makes me think, I think that historically a lot of recovery meetings have been closed meetings, you know, where they're just for people in recovery. So to now have these meetings like you're talking about at the We Do Recover Community Center that are, I think you said all recovery meetings where they're just completely open to anybody, definitely provides that kind of opportunity that if there's somebody who we want to give some support to, and maybe going to a meeting or maybe getting involved in recovery in whatever capacity is completely foreign to them, well, we can go with them to the community center, to Recovery Fest, to a meeting, to whatever, to help provide support. So what you were saying really made me think about that, Heather.
Yeah, because I think like for a long time, and I think sometimes we still have this, I think it's getting better, but like, I think we need to normalize that a little bit. If I say, hey, I have to go to the doctor, you know, to get my diabetes checked out or get my heart checked out, somebody's going to be like, oh, cool, I'll go with you. Like, that's kind of scary to go with. So, you know, why don't I go with you, or help you go and then set everything up and then you can go to the doctor, right? So I think that viewing mental health and substance use kind of the same way, like, hey, it is scary to go ask for help. It is scary to go, you know, set up an appointment or something like that. So let me go with you, you know, and help get you there, right? Like, then you can set it up and things like that, but I can go there and support you in that decision. I think that normalizing some of that it really does kind of help folks get over a little bit of that fear of the next step of recovery and the next step of how to get help and how to like go to treatment and get treatment. So I think that being able to normalize that a little bit is great.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, you know, places like the community center help to do that, as well as Recovery Fest. And I see that Leslie put in the chat that all of the meetings at the We Do Recover Community Center are open to anybody to attend. So I think attending those and being a support for people that we care about is a great way to help normalize recovery throughout the community. Do other folks have questions for Heather? Mercedes? Yeah, go for it.
I always have a couple. And this, I really should know this. If I had kept up my involvement with treatment court, I would have the answer. But and I know Heather's, I'm never there anymore. I don't know if you still go on Fridays. And I know Stacy is on the Zoom today, Stacy Wiley, who works with Epic, and I know she's starting to go, but I've just not been able to attend now for, gosh, I don't know, 6 or 8 months probably. But I'm just wondering how much either awareness or promotion there is for the recovery center for folks who are in treatment court. And like, and I'm also kind of curious about the fest, if there's a big promotion for that, because I would certainly hope so. I know the couple that Leslie was referring to earlier, and they were not in drug court, maybe a long time ago, but not currently. I keep going back and forth between drug court and treatment court. I've never made that transition. At any rate, so yeah, I'm just curious. I'll stop. I think the question's in there somewhere.
Yes, ma'am. Treatment court is super supportive of the Recovery Fest. There are a lot of folks in the treatment court. I know that Taylor, our treatment court administrator, is a huge, and Judge Lipke, both are huge supporters of the Recovery Center and going and having, a safe, fun place to do some of these activities. I think that that's one of the big in treatment court, and then in treatment as well. Like, that's one of the things that a lot of our folks struggle with, is, well, what do I do for fun? What do I do for fun? And luckily, like, we have an amazing treatment court, and they know, our participants in treatment court know that every Friday when they're at that courthouse, that Judge Lippy is going to ask them, so what are you doing for fun? And he asks them every Friday, because that is such a imperative, such a big part of treatment. And I will say that that's probably one of the things that people struggle with and that we try to do in counseling as well, is learn how to help them have fun, because a lot of times, like, our brain doesn't register it, especially in early recovery. Our brain doesn't register fun or happiness or any of those comfortable emotions for a while after substance use, because it's healing, right? It's healing. Then you add to that a co-occurring disorder, and our brain kind of struggles with some of those things too. So we have to kind of consistently try these different fun things. So Leslie, I'm glad that you threw a bunch of stuff out and things stuck, because I think that helps show consistently how to have fun in a sober way. It teaches our brain, like, a little bit like, oh, I kind of like this. Oh, I remember this, right? Like, it helps do that. So yeah, treatment court is super supportive of the Recovery Center. Constantly asking, judges constantly asking what they're doing for fun. A lot of times, some of the answers are, I went to fill in the blank at Recovery Center. So yeah, it's a really beautiful partnership.
And Mercedes, this is Tammy. I was also going to add that Judge did also tell everyone that was at treatment court last Friday about the fest this weekend. So he said he would be making an appearance there as well.
I will say he was. Tammy, I didn't realize that was you. It said Tamara. It threw me off. Hi, Tammy.
I know, me too.
Hello.
I'm like, oh, that's Tammy. Okay.
It's me.
Yeah, I will tell you that Judge went last year to Recovery Fest. He and I went for a little bit, and it was so cool to see so many people see the judge there at Recovery Fest, because I think that that's something that we need to be aware of. Like, those people in the community, or people who work in the substance use field and work in the mental health field and work along these things, when individuals see us in the community on a Saturday, going there and supporting that really does help instill some of that hope. It really, really does. So a lot of our folks seeing us out on a Saturday, and it does help instill that belief in them too. Like, wow, these people really do believe in me. These people really are invested in me and invested in our recovery and invested in, the community as a whole. So I think that's one of the small things that people can do as well to help folks in recovery, is be present, be there. And I think that has such a huge impact on those folks.
I agree. I think that's a really good point, Heather, for sure. Do other folks have questions for Heather or Leslie? No? Mercedes dropped the survey link in the chat. So I would again ask everybody to please just take a minute. It shouldn't take long at all. Just a couple minutes tops to fill that little survey out would be great. If there are no other questions, which it seems like there are not, because you ladies did such a comprehensive job of covering everything. I say thank you both. Yes, I see John is giving the clappy hands, and I'm going to give some of those with my real hands here too. Thank you both so much for everything that you shared today, for taking the time out of your day to join us here and talk about all of the really important and powerful, meaningful work that you do in the community. And it looks like some folks are hopping in the chat and saying thank you as well for your work and your passion and sharing with us today. So thank you both. And thanks everybody for joining us. And with that, I believe we will wrap things up. So thank you all very much.
Bye, y'all. Thank y'all.